Hello and welcome to Two Crime Writers and a Microphone. We're your hosts, Luca Veste.
I'm Steve Cavanagh.
And we're here to present a brand new podcast which will bring you the latest news in the book world, interviews with writers, agents, publicists, editors, you name them, we'll have them. Also, each week we'll hear from some of the best book reviewers around who will give us their reads of the week. This week we're joined by Ayo Onatade and the incredible Mark Billingham. So, hello, Steve.
Bulbous salutations, Luca.
As you may have guessed by Steve's introduction there, this is the Bad Sex Awards special on Two Crime Writers and a Microphone. Although the cool kids are now calling it Tequam.
To what?
Yeah, have you not heard this?
No.
Yeah, the cool kids are calling it Tequam.
Tequam?
Yeah. I'll wait for a few minutes for you to work out why it's Tequam.
Tequam? Is that the initials of it?
It is, well done.
You wouldn't know I make my living with words. I don't like that at all. Tequam sounds like one of those fancy teas that smells vaguely of pish.
So when I said cool kids, I may have overstated the mark a bit. It's just that someone shortened it in an email to us and it just thought it sounded fun. But that is off the point. I mean, this is the Bad Sex Award edition of Two Crime Writers and a Microphone, and that is because it's the Bad Sex Award which has been introduced by the Literary Review, and it was which set up the prize 23 years ago, and this week they announced their shortlist. So what the Bad Sex Award is, it is an award given to the worst sex in fiction of that year. The worst description of sex in that year, I should say. Now, last year, Morrissey was the winner.
He was, deservedly so.
And the bulbous salutation that Steve said earlier was the standout part of that, his entry. Do you know how Morrissey reacted to it?
No. Did he react to it?
Oh, he did.
Oh.
He did. I don't think he was too happy.
Right.
In fact, he called it an absolute horror. He was not happy about it. He was, but I mean, I don't think he would have seen this funny side of that anyway, would he? I mean, you know, he's not. He's a very serious man.
He is indeed. He's a very serious vegetarian. And I have nothing against vegetarians at all. They're very nice, but vegetarians are usually, really nice, relaxed, quite placid people. But Morrissey seems to be a sort of a fundamentalist vegetarian. He's very aggressive and he's very precious about his writing. But we can talk about, we're going to see that as the coup de grace. We can talk about List of the Lost and that extract as our finale for this segment. Yes, because it is amazing. It is just, I love it.
It's brilliant. I mean, and it's, I think they could have probably ended the award that night. Because it was. I don't think that will ever be topped. His response to it, I'll say it in full. He told a Uruguayan paper. He went to fucking Uruguay. The paper's called El Observador, which just is the Observer in Uruguay, I imagine. He felt it was best to maintain an indifferent distance from the prize because there are too many good things in life to let these repulsive horrors pull you down. He added, I have many enemies, and their biggest motivation is, as you know, to try to use all your achievements against you. Now, I'm sorry, Morrissey, but your achievement with that passage, which we will hear later on, that was something incredible. You can't. We weren't using it against you. That was used for you. You did brilliantly in creating a bad sex scene.
He did. I think one of his main enemies in that book was the English language itself. It's either a sex scene or an extract from an owner's manual of a 1984 Ford Cortina. There's no idea what's going on or what shape anybody is in it. It's just unbelievable. But look forward to that one.
So what we're going to do with this is we're going to read out each passage that has been shortlisted. There are 6 novels that have been shortlisted for the Bad Sex Award. We're going to read out the offensive passage. I can't say passage anymore, Steve.
Well, we're going to be getting elbow deep into passages in a moment.
And I think it wasn't passage, but there is a word in. I think it's the final one, which was the most egregious to use during a sex scene. But we'll talk about that later.
Well, actually, I think we should say as well. This word is specifically for a bad passage or a perfunctory description of sex or something really bad in an otherwise very good book. Yes. So whilst all of these, I have to say as well, all of these authors are much better than me because I've never written a sex scene. And they're all brilliant books. It's just, if you write a book, it's 100,000 words, you're going to have a couple of passages in it which are a wee bit ropey. In any book, I don't care how good you are, if you're writing a 100,000 word book, you're going to have the odd passage which is a bit ropey, and these passages just happen to contain sex, and they're awful, but they're all brilliant writers, they're all brilliant books, go out and get them. But we're about to rip the piss out of them ruthlessly.
Okay, so first we have A Doubter's Almanac by Ethan Cannon, and Steve is going to read the passage now.
Okay. The act itself was fervent, like a brisk tennis game or a summer track meet, something performed in daylight between competitors. The cheap mattress bounced. She liked to do it more than once, and he was usually able to comply. Bourbon was his gasoline. Between sessions, he poured it at the counter while she lay panting on the sheets. Sweat burnished her body, the lean neck, the surprisingly full breasts. He would down another glass and return.
Do you know which bit of that jumps out at me straight away?
No.
It's the surprisingly full breasts.
Yes.
I've never been surprised by full breasts. It's never happened. I've never turned and gone, fuck me, they're full.
I know. And he seems as if he's, this is a regular sort of a afternoon vigorous session. He's still surprised by these breasts and how full they are. Maybe it's. I wondered about that. Why surprisingly full? Surprisingly full of what? Ribena? Lilt? What's he talking about?
Well, maybe that's a surprise.
Maybe
Every day you don't know what you're going to get.
Don't know what you're going to get.
Ooh, it's Tuesday. Is this Ribena day? But no, I think it's. I don't think it's bad writing. That's all, really. Apart from the surprisingly full bit, I'm not too sure
the surprisingly full breast isn't great, but there's a brilliant sentence here. Between sessions, he poured it at the counter while she lay panting on the sheets. I think that's a really good sentence, actually. Sweat burnishing her body isn't, it's great, and a lean neck. Why her neck? That's a wee bit strange. The start of it sort of annoys me a bit. The act itself was fervent, like a brisk tennis game or a summer track meet. But I mean, that sounds bizarre. I mean, it's a bit of a maybe this is a class thing, but I don't know. Certainly, nobody that I've ever met that I know well would ever describe sex like a brisk tennis game.
Something performed in daylight between competitors. I've never seen sex as a competitive sport. I mean, we all want to come first, but that's
yeah, and the tennis thing. Just what do you mean tennis? New balls, please.
Well, apparently, I mean, this is between sessions. I don't think he's going to need new balls after all this. Well, it sounds like this is like, once, twice. I mean, sessions indicates to me like, they're going 4 or 5 times here.
I know. And God love him. He's pouring that bourbon down. He's pouring that whiskey down his throat like nobody's business to get through it. It doesn't sound as if he's enjoying it very much. She's saying, come on ahead. So hang on a minute to drink this first.
I love I think this is brilliant. I mean, this is the thing, though, is that I read these and think, I really want to read these books, because this year especially, I mean, the writing isn't terrible whatsoever. It's not bad writing.
No, it's not.
Just bad
Well, hang
sex.
on. There is one bit which is really bad writing. There's a couple of bad bits. We'll not go that far. But that one by Ethan Cannon is actually very good writing. There's a very good sentence in it, and that's not bad at all. I would say in other years, that would have escaped entirely, and wouldn't have been listed for the bad sex award.
Should we go on to the next one?
We can indeed. It's your turn now.
It's my turn now. So this is the Tobacconist by Robert C. Thaler. And I'm going to just get into the character now. He closed his eyes and heard himself make a gurgling sound, and as his trousers slipped down his legs, all the burdens of his life to date seemed to fall away from him. He tipped back his head and faced up into the darkness beneath the ceiling, and for one blessed moment he felt as if he could understand the things of this world and all of their immeasurable beauty. How strange they are, he thought, life and all of these things. Then he felt Inezka slide down before him to the floor, felt her hands grab his naked buttocks and drew him to her. "Come, sonny boy," he heard her whisper, and with a smile he let go. "Come, sonny boy."
Sonny boy, hello. That's really disturbing. That's just so disturbing that she says that.
And that's literally the only bad part of that paragraph for me. I think the rest of it is really nicely written. I think it's quite evocative. Right up until that last bit, I was like, this is quite nicely written. I'm into this. And then it's "Come, sonny boy," and it said, actually, I said it wrong because it was in a whisper, so it was like, "Come, sonny boy."
Oh God, that's even worse.
If you heard that in a whisper, you're running. No, I don't find this is offensive really at all. I mean, I think it's quite nice. If you weren't to know what was coming next, and you just, I mean, like the gurgling sound, maybe, yeah, not too sure about that.
Heard it? Yeah, I just forgot about the gurgling sound. Yeah, it's like, do you ever do that Homer Simpson? Even Homer Simpson sees donuts. Oh. Is it that? Or is he gurgling? Is he got bad breath? Somebody got a bottle of Listerine.
I think what he is describing here is the act of oral copulation.
Yes.
And I think that's what... But, if that was not the context, I do think it's a really nice evocative piece of writing. I think it's like nice, but that "Come, sonny boy" thing, that is unforgivable.
Well, that is unforgivable. But the whole bit about contemplating the universe is very, that's a bit up its own arse, isn't it? And a bit unrealistic. Nobody does that.
It's taken the "lie back and think of Britain" line just a little bit too far. Lie back and think of the entire universe. Lie back and... how blowjob is.
Lie back and think of the universe. Yeah, but the other bit, the last bit, the whisper is awful, and then after that he says, and with a smile he let go. I was thinking he let go of what?
Well, I think what we're hearing here is what is not this is a serious matter, and this is the idea of premature ejaculation. Now, this is a serious thing that people have to deal with every day, Steve.
Right.
And that's what we're hearing described here.
Okay. Oh, really? Is it?
I don't know.
It could be. If it is, I've missed it completely.
And then in the next paragraph, it's Inezka is just, listen, it happens to everyone. One time in their life, every man will have to deal with this, and it's just the guy go, I'm really sorry. But no, I don't find it as offensive. I mean, yeah, there is parts of that which are...
It's a bit pretentious. In a bit.
I quite like that. I mean, like, it's not something that I, seek out. But if I read that passage in another context, I would think that was a really nice piece of writing.
Yeah. So it's not bad. It's not bad writing at all. It's just a wee bit strange.
So the next one we have is Men Like Air by Tom Connolly. And Steve is going to read this one out for you.
Okay. The walkway to the terminal was all carpet, no oxygen. Dilly bundled Finn into the first restroom on offer, locked the cubicle door, and pulled at his leather belt. "You're beautiful," she told him, going down on her haunches and unzipping him. He watched her passport rise gradually out of the back pocket of her jeans, in time with the rhythmic bobbing of her buttocks as she sucked him. He arched over her back. Sorry. He arched over her back and took hold of the passport before it landed on the pimpled floor. Despite the immediate circumstances, human nature obliged him to take a look at her passport photo. What a load of old shite!
I've got to believe that this was supposed to be funny. I have to.
It has to be.
Serious? It has to be, because if this was serious, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever read in my life.
Totally. It totally
has
is.
To be.
It totally is. You know, some.
That's the thing about these things, is that we are stripping it of context.
We
so
are.
We're well aware of it. But that has to be, because if it's not, I need to meet Tom and just explain to him a few things about being sucked off in a restroom in a.
Exactly. You don't say, "Sir, excuse me, have you any photographic ID there?"
I mean, the first sentence was a bit odd. The walkway to the terminal was all carpet, no oxygen.
See, I just thought John Banville had been there before him, sucking all the oxygen out of the airport. Sorry, folks, that's a joke from episode 2.
Yes. But no, it's just like all carpet, no oxygen. I'm always mindful of those types of things where it's, as soon as you start stripping back a sentence and thinking, well, that's not right, you know.
Yeah.
That's but I mean, the rest of it is not bad until we get to the passport thing, which has to be a joke. It has to be.
That is a joke, because that's just not.
It can't be serious, that one, surely.
But we're out of context. In what context did this happen? He doesn't know who she is, but he wants to see her passport. It is a bit of a joke. It must be a joke. It is a joke, because it's not serious. Like, if you're,
it's not. Just imagine what his sex life must be like if he thinks he has time to consider these things.
Yeah, it's also the fact that I'm just wondering how that would work, because if someone is kneeling in front of you, regardless of what they're doing, and you lean right over them, I mean, his stomach must have been right on top of her head to reach down to get her passport out of her back pocket. It's not possible.
Well, that's not what was concerning me. I'm thinking health and safety wise. You know, if you know when you were a kid and your mum said don't run with that lollipop in your mouth.
Ah, yes.
I'm just thinking, like, you know, that she could take a serious injury if he moves in a certain direction, which is what direction he would have to move in to reach the passport.
It's also, I'm not sure if she would be bobbing up and down. Would she?
Well,
I don't know.
You know,
maybe I'm reading too much into this. I think it's just, you know what it is? It's either a joke or it's a contrivance to make a plot point. It's a beat in the plot, and he says, how are we going to? I'll read her. And maybe she's not who she's supposed to be, or something.
Yeah, that makes sense as well.
Could be something like that. But it's in which case it's a really, really, really bad piece of work. Well, we're just going to hope it's a joke.
So the penultimate one here now, and this is me, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
It is you. Although a few more to go yet.
No, I've got 2 more, haven't I?
No, you.
Oh no, there's 3 more. Oh right, you're right. Sorry,
yeah.
We're getting ahead of us. So the next one is The Butcher's Hook by Janet Ellis.
Janet Ellis, that's a woman from Blue Peter.
It is indeed. It's obviously before my time because I just read that it's Jeanette.
No, it's Janet.
No, it's The Butcher's Hook by Janet Ellis, who is the former Blue Peter presenter. I didn't realise she'd started writing books. I didn't know. Did you?
No, I don't think I did. That must have passed me by. But maybe this is her first one, I think. Maybe her first or second one.
I think this is in our genre, isn't it? I think it definitely sounds like it's, you know, a crime book, doesn't it, with The Butcher's Hook?
Might be.
For a title.
Maybe we should have looked. Maybe we need to fire a researcher.
Yeah. Isn't that me? I just agreed to get. No, I'm just looking it up now, and it's historical.
Oh.
It looks like a historical thriller, by the looks of it.
Right.
And it's got some. I mean, it's got some great reviews. In The Guardian, a sharp eye and a sharper wit, a spirited dark debut from Woman and Home. The glorious Claire McIntosh called her a masterful storyteller.
There you
Well,
are.
I'll take that praise. She's brilliant, Claire.
Mm-hmm.
But no, she has been nominated for the award for this passage that I will read now for you.
Great.
When his hand goes to me breasts, me feet are envious. I slide me hands down his back all along his spine, rutted with bone like mud ridges in a dry field to the audacious swell below. His finger is inside me, his thumb circling, and I spill like grain from a bucket.
Sorry, the way you say bucket is fantastic.
He is panting, still running his race. I laugh at the incongruous size of him sticking to his stomach and escaping from the springing hair below. Listen, right, okay, here's rule number 1 for the sex scene. Don't put the fucking word bucket in it. Listen, stay away from buckets.
Oh God!
But no, when his hand goes to my breast, my feet are envious.
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah, we all felt like that. Both me fucking feet, well, yeah.
You can see the ad now on television. Do you suffer from envious feet? Take this pill.
Oh my God.
You can have a woman television in the advert. With these green envious feet.
His breasts always get the attention.
That's it. Stop it. Oh God. But the next bit of it is fantastic. This bit had me scratching my head. I slide my hands down his back, all along his spine, rutted with bone like mud ridges in a dry field. So I thought that was good. That was a good description. He's running her hand down his back, over the ridges of his spine. So you can imagine her hand going down his spine, rutted with bone like mud ridges in a dry field, and see the hand going down to the audacious swell below. Now, I think when she says the audacious swell, I think she's referring to his crotch. But she doesn't say, he turned over, or I put my hand to the front, or something like that. She's running her hand down his back, and then she discovers an audacious swelling. And then my first thought, God, that poor man's arse is swollen up.
In my head, he's like, have you ever seen Kim Kardashian?
Yes.
She has a huge arse, but a really small body. Is that he has a Kim Kardashian arse?
He must do.
He just like juts out at the back.
But she shouldn't be. She should be phoning an ambulance. There must be something terrible wrong with you if your arse swells up to audacious proportions.
Retention is a terrible affliction. And he just seems to be retaining a lot of water.
He really does. Audaciously so.
I mean, the finger and the bucket, yeah, okay, let's not, you don't puff, don't use bucket, that's my advice.
And grain from a bucket, she's still in the farm, there's a lot of farming metaphors in this. She's obviously...
He's panting, still running his race.
I know.
Like, well, I don't know, I quite like that. I laugh at the incongruous, you don't laugh. Don't laugh.
No.
Just I laugh at the incongruous size of him sticking to his stomach and escaping from the springing hair below. She's literally laughing at his penis.
She is. That's not good. You were talking about issues earlier on. That's going to give you the issues.
Yeah.
That's no wonder that other fella was pouring whiskey down his neck to get through it.
It's like she's laughing at the incongruous size of him, so he must be a big fella.
Or maybe he's a wee tiny fella.
Like a tripod. with a really huge arse and a really huge cock.
Oh God! Here's one we made earlier.
But I think what I can tell from this passage though is that Janet Ellis can write. So I think I'm going to read her book now. I did not know she was an author. I did not know, and I really want to read it now.
Oh yeah. Well, we can't
skip that bit.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's a brilliant book. We can't be nasty about Janet Ellis. She was on pretty sure.
She's great. The next one is "Leave Me" by Gail Foreman. Over to you, Steve.
Just me, right? Once.
You can't say one.
I've gone completely. Oh, hang on, you be professional here. Oh. Right. Jesus Christ almighty. Okay. All right.
People are going to think that I've put something you said, but no, listen.
No,
you said once and just dissolved into laughter.
Oh, Jesus. Right. Oh, this one isn't too bad. Okay. Let's see if I can get through this. Once they were in that room, Jason had slammed the door. Oh God. Right, no, get yourself together here, Cavanagh. It's just, this first line is just so amazing. There's tears coming down my face. So bad. Once they were in that room, Jason had slammed the door and devoured her with his mouth, his hands, which were everywhere. Oh, as if he were ravenous. And she remembered standing in front of him, her dress a puddle on the floor, and how she started to shake, her knees knocking together like she was a virgin, like this was the first time. Because had she allowed herself to hope, this was what she would have hoped for. And now here it was, and that was terrifying. Jason had taken her hand and placed it over his bare chest to his heart, which was pounding wildly in tandem with hers. She'd thought he was just excited, turned on. It had not occurred to her that he might be terrified too. Well, I'm sure the poor woman was terrified as Jason slams the door and then eats her with his mouth and his hands, which are fucking everywhere apparently. It's like a huge, big, flabby-handed monster.
I mean, I've done that thing before where you just, like, you start kissing someone and just, like, start rubbing your hands all over them, like, Bleh!
I know, exactly. It's much like airport security patting her down. Oh, God.
Oh. Apart from that, though.
Apart from that, it's all right.
Yeah, that's not bad. As if he were ravenous, and she remembers standing in front of him, a dress, a puddle on the floor. I quite like that, and how she'd started to shake her knees, knocking together like she was a virgin, like this was the first time. I think we're starting to get into run-on sentence territory there a little bit, but
knees knocking together should be no, that should never be. It's the same principle as bucket. You don't have a bucket and no knees knocking together either. But other than that, it's fine. God, that nearly killed me reading that.
What killed Mr. Cavanagh? It was the bad sex award.
Bad sex award. You have worse to come. This is you now. I don't know how you're going to read this.
I don't find that one very offensive. I mean, it's not that bad. I think we've saved the worst for last.
I think we have. Yeah.
And this is The Day Before Happiness by Erik de Luca. I think we've had to let me say the Luca one. Now, when we were talking about this, there was a few people talking about it the other day, and they kept saying that the Luca one was bad. Yeah. And my mind just eliminated D, and I just saw Luca is bad, and thought everyone hated me.
Oh no! You're well liked. But this is
This is quite special.
This is very special indeed.
Yeah, ready for this?
Okay.
She pushed on me hips and ordered that thrust me in. I entered her. Not only my prick, but the whole of me entered her, into her guts, into her darkness, eyes wide open, seeing nothing. My whole body had gone inside her. I went in with her thrusts and stayed still. While I got used to the quiet and the pulsing of my blood in my ears and nose, she pushed me out a little, then in again. She did it again and again, holding me with force and moved me to the rhythm of the surf. She wriggled her breasts beneath my hands and intensified the pushing. I went in up to my groin and came out almost entirely. My body was her gear stick. Right, okay, go back to the bucket.
Yeah.
Word that you should never ever use in a sex scene is guts.
Yeah.
Guts. I'm up to me guts. No, you never go with guts. Never do that. Yeah, that was. This whole passage is just a little bit squeamish.
It is. It's just.
It makes me feel. Yeah, just that feeling of. Ugh.
And maybe he's like that other fella. He's a really tiny wee man. And he's.
I think he needs to meet Mrs. Bucket.
He does. Parts of it. But, like, obviously, this is not meant to be. This is meant to be metaphorical in some. It must be. In some other ways, it's sort of it's like a cave diving manual or something. He's thinking that this man ripped up as he tied his ankle to the bedpost. As he jumped off a diving board somewhere. What the hell is? And the other thing that got me. What's this bit again? I'm looking at this now. Oh yeah, the blood pulsing in his nose. If he is trying to engage in a sexual act and all the blood is run to his nose, I think he's in some difficulty. I think he should probably go and see a doctor about that. That's the wrong bit for a man. You don't want your nose full of blood when all that's happening. That's not good.
The problem is though, is I feel bad because Eddie De Luca is from Napoli in Italy, which is where all my family are from. And it's like there is a possibility that we are related in some way, because I just assume that everyone from Naples is related to me in some way.
Is Erik De Luca a man or a woman?
He's a man.
Is it a man? Is it?
Yeah. He's a guy. He's 66 years old. I think that's also the amount of time since he's been anywhere near.
Well, if that's anything like his last time he was there, then any wonder he hasn't gone near it again. He was nearly trapped. Was sending a search party for the poor man.
No, I think that's certainly my winner, just for the guts line itself.
There's also a couple of crackers. She wiggled her breasts beneath my hands. What? I can't envisage that. Wiggling? Is there wiggling?
Well, as an owner of breasts myself,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I can wiggle them. I've never tried.
It just seems totally bizarre, that. But although the whole thing is bizarre.
A lot of these contain a lot more laughter-inducing moments than I've ever experienced. I don't know what these people are doing. It's like la 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 la, way, wiggly breasts. Look what I can do.
My body was her gear stick. It's a particular favourite of mine as well.
Yes, that is a quite special line. My body was her gear stick.
What?
But the thing is, I'm going to defend them because I reckon in Italian that passage sounds amazing.
You reckon you related to him? That's why you're defending him. It could be an awkward family reunion.
Yeah. But that's the 6 entries this year for the Bad Sex Award. Do you know when they're announced?
No.
The winners announced?
No,
I'm not entirely certain.
Can you vote for them, I wonder?
I don't know. I mean, last year it was December when the award was announced. I imagine I can't imagine it's just thinking there's a panel who have to decide, and you can imagine the really serious conversation that they have about it.
They'll probably be listening to this show.
I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on is guts worse than bucket?
That's what's in the bucket.
But no, I mean, it was established in 1993, the Bad Sex and Fiction Awards, and it's been going strong since. But I really do think that like last year's winner was the epitome. Now we probably want to argue about who gets to read this one out.
I don't know. I don't think I could, to be honest. I think I could have some sort of an aneurysm if I tried to read it. But I will say this, though. The List of the Lost, Morrissey's biography came out, published, and he insisted, apparently. I should say, if there's any real die-hard Morrissey fans listening, we're very sorry for what we're about to say, but he insisted it was published as a Penguin classic. And have you ever tried to read his biography?
No.
You see, I bought it for Mrs. Cavanagh, and she, who's a die-hard Morrissey fan, and she tried to read it, and I don't think it went very well. I read a page of it, and then I had to throw it away. It was just absolutely horrific. Really, but there's other people, there's friends of ours, my Adrian McKinty loved it. But it was really sort of, I thought it was terrible. And then they came out, he was writing a novel, which was also going to be published at his insistence as a Penguin classic. The publisher's fighting with himself, because he's a brilliant songwriter. See, we're back to this Bob Dylan thing. Bob Dylan can write brilliant songs. Morrissey can write, well, I don't think they're brilliant songs, but loads of other people do. But he can't write a book, tell you that now, because List of the Lost was it just sort of arrived. Oh, this is coming out. No way books their publishing date is set months and months and months and months and months in advance. List of the Lost was just sort of announced, well, it'll be out next week. And people went, what? Really? And then it came out, and my God, it was horrific. And this sex scene, which Mr. Luca Veste is about to read, will give you a flavour of this book.
Okay. At this, Eliza and Ezra rolled together into one giggling snowball of full-figured copulation, screaming and shouting as they playfully bit and pulled at each other in a dangerous and clamorous rollercoaster coil of sexually violent rotation, with Eliza's breast barrel-rolled across Ezra's howling mouth and the pain frenzy of his bulbous salutation extenuating his excitement as it whacked and smacked its way into every muscle of Eliza's body except for the otherwise central zone. There is like two commas in that entire passage.
Is that a whole sentence?
That's a whole sentence.
No, it's not. Is it?
There are two commas, and from the word copulation, there is no commas. It was literally the whole sentence is screaming and shouting as they playfully bit and pulled at each other in dangerous clamors, roller coaster, code of sexually violent rotation with Eliza's breast barrel rollers, and on and on. That's just one part of the sentence. It's incredible.
God.
I mean, this is just the epitome. You know, this is when the award should have ended, because this will never ever be topped.
No,
the breasts barrel rolling across his howling mouth.
But even before you get there, they're in a giggling snowball, and you can sort of imagine that as people sort of laughing and rolling about together, you know, all coiled around each other. A full-figured copulation. Copulation's a strange word to choose there. That's sort of quite medical.
What's the full-figured bit? I mean, like,
well, yes, as opposed to half-figured copulation.
Yes. Sometimes I don't even use my whole figure to have sex. Sometimes I only use half.
But then it goes all weird. So you can imagine two people sort of rolling around together, having a wee giggle, having whatever, and then screaming and shouting at each other as they playfully bit and pulled at each other. So there's repetition.
What are you shouting?
Screaming and shouting. I don't know. Maybe there's an argument that's broken out of the snowball.
Your breasts keep barrel rolling over my howling mouth. What the fuck are you doing? Well, your bulbous salutation is extenuating all this excitement.
The bulbous salutation is fucking
It's almost written like by someone who has perhaps heard someone describe sex. Once in a loud pub, and they didn't quite catch everything. I mean, the pained frenzy of his bulbous salutation, the pained frenzy extenuating his excitement, like every muscle of Eliza's body, except for the otherwise central zone.
What's the central zone?
Listen, Steve, if you don't know where the central zone is by now, I can't help you.
No idea what that is. But what is it? What's the central zone? Is that like something to do with traffic? It's like a single, otherwise central zone. You have to go to the central zone. Maybe it's like zones in the underground. There's zone 1 and zone 2 in the central zone. But it doesn't make sense. It starts off all very nice and giggling and running around and screaming and shouting, and they're biting and pulling each other. It's sexually violent then. And her breasts are smacking him in the face, and he's smacking her with his penis everywhere.
Oh my god!
Just turns into a big sort of a sexual fight then, and oh my god, it's very, very special. It's incredibly badly written. It makes no fucking sense at all. It's just perfect. I love it.
I do love the line in The Guardian from last year, which describes, which just uses the former Smiths vocalist's first novel. He produced an autobiography in 2013, was published by Penguin in September to negative reviews. Listen, there was nothing. There was no good to say about this. Oh my god! But yeah, that's the Bad Sex Awards shortlist for 2016. We'll have to tell Blue won it, and we'll read out the winner again. But I can't see anything beating Eri DeLuca, to be honest. Guts. As soon as you mention Guts, it's worse than Bucket.
Yeah.
It is worse than Bucket.
Because the only thing that could beat that would be a bulbous salutation, smacking and whacking in every muscle.
Oh my god. Next, we're going to talk about the chart, as we always do every week. And every week I ask Steve to guess what is number one. Do you know what number one is this week?
No, is it David Williams again?
It is David Williams. He's sold almost 100,000 copies of The Midnight Gang. Takes his total sales up to over 160,000 copies. I bought it this week.
Did you?
It's a Christmas present for one of the children. I'm not entirely sure if she reads Jeff Kinney, which is at number 2. Mm-hmm. It's not something she's ever mentioned before, the Wimpy Kid, but I think they've watched the films, but not read the book, so maybe I might buy that one as well. But at number 3 is what I expected to be there, and the sales figures for it are incredible, and that is Night School by Lee Child.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
Over 48,000 copies in 1 week.
Wow. It's
just incredible, and it shows that the Reacher series is still much loved, as it should be. It's a brilliant series, and it's such a big audience for it still. I mean, I think the film coming out recently has only increased that audience.
It has. I'm sure it has. I mean, Lee Child sells one book in the world every 4 seconds or something. Mm. But I'm sure that'll hit number 1 soon.
I mean, the thing is that it'll be hardback fiction number 1, which I think it is. Kids' books always do much better. There's a bigger audience for them. Yeah. But in the original fiction charts, which is for adult fiction, I suppose, he's number 1 by quite a distance. Number 2 is Ian Rankin.
Oh, brilliant!
With Rather the Devil, which I am reading now, and it is fantastic. It is brilliant. And that is number 10 in the overall charts. The Last Mile by David Baldacci is number 5. Right. And 5 on Brexit Island is really holding up. That's at number 7.
Holding up better than Brexit?
Mm. Well, there's more of a plan with this book, I think. That's what
the famous 5 of a better plan about Brexit than anybody else. But the Ian Rankin one, I'm waiting to get a copy and when Ian comes in the Wallabies, which I think is in a couple of weeks in December.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
he'll be there,
only a
so I'm
week
gonna
away now that I get to interview him.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I can't wait now. I mean, I've almost finished the book and I've got lots of questions because I don't know how he has sustained the quality for this length of time. It is absolutely brilliant, and it really takes the Rebus character to a new level, I think. Even at this stage, which is like, it's 21, I think this is the 21st Rebus, and he's still got something to say about him. It's brilliant. I can't wait to see him. That's on the 29th of November, Tuesday 29th of November, and that's in Liverpool. And that's at the Oh Me Oh My in conjunction with Waterstones. You can get tickets now. Still, I think there's only a few left though. I'm a bit worried, to be honest.
Why?
It'll be the biggest audience I've ever.
You'll be fine.
No, it'll be great. I can't wait. You know, he's a really good guy, and as you know, we had him on the first week's podcast, and you missed it, and it was a really good conversation. He's a really good guy.
Oh no, I've listened to it since, and I saw him last year when he came to the Wallabies, and I'll go again this year because he is fantastic, and he's really good at those gigs and brilliant in front of an audience, and hugely intelligent and very funny too.
Mm-hmm. The Girl on the Train is down to 8 and 9 in the charts.
God love her now. That's it all finished now, Paul. pack it in now. That's it all done.
At a combined sales over the two titles of almost 30,000 though over the week. I mean, it's still selling incredible numbers.
It's a brilliant book, and that's the thing. You know, people love that book, and it's great. So fair play to you. That's brilliant.
I enjoyed it. I read it in one day on a train. Weirdly enough.
Oh.
I was on a train journey down to London, just like 2.5 hours from Liverpool, and yeah, I read it there and back, and loved it. I thought it was great. It was great fast-paced read. I haven't watched the film.
No, I haven't seen the film now myself.
I'm not quite certain. I'm not really sure about the move to New York, which is where I think it's set, isn't it?
I'm sure that's fine. It probably doesn't make any difference at all.
Be interested to see what they do with it.
Yeah.
Some of the standouts. On the way down a little bit, number 23 is Worms to Catch by Guy Martin.
Oh yes, that fantastic man on his motorbike.
And he's not just a friend; he's family now.
He is.
Guy Martin. You know, he's indelibly linked to us forever, as family are. They're forced upon you. You don't choose to spend any time with them. But no, Guy Jones, Love You Dead by Peter James is number 18. That's sold almost 10,000 copies this week in paperback. It's fantastic. The official Minecraft Annual 2017 is at number 19.
Well, the old blues books always do well.
Yeah, that's over 9,000 copies sold this week. Well, there's a fair few annuals. There's the Beano Annual, which is at number 12, actually. That's sold almost 11,000 copies. The Beano album, Outside Minecraft album, is really interesting for me. Is that, you know, this sense of nostalgia that seems to be hitting quite a lot recently, it's permeating across a lot of things, isn't it?
It is. That's good to see, because the Beano was great. I used to get the Beano annual myself when I was a wee lad, so that's great.
Number 34, The Little Book of Hugo.
Oh yes.
Higgy is doing well. Almost 50,000 copies sold now.
That's fantastic.
Mm.
In a really strange way. It's just fantastic. Just, I don't know. It's maybe really stressed people are buying this book and saying, right, well, how do you relax? So, I don't know. It's really weird. I don't know. I'm not going to read this book.
You don't have to. You're living it now.
I'm living it now.
Yeah, so number 1 in the original fiction hardback chart is Night School. Lee Child. Ian Rank is at number 2. Jeffrey Archer, number 3.
Oh, God.
In the paperback mass market fiction, it's David Baldacci at number 1 with The Last Mile. You have to go down a little further to get a new entry. We've got Catalina Diamond at number 18 with The Secret. She's doing well there. And we have a fair few Christmassy type of books. An Orphan's Christmas by Katie Flynn. An Orphan's Christmas.
Oh, God. But people love those books. They love books you can have a really good cry at.
I feel really bad already for the whoever the orphan is. It's like, oh, No.
I'm sure everything comes good in the end, and they end up safe and warm with a nice family and a dog.
What if it doesn't, though?
It does.
These titles.
She finds a home with a family who practice hookah.
Do you promise?
Yeah, and they're all fine. It's all good.
We have Christmas Under the Stars by Karen Swan is at number 6, and The Christmas Card number 2. We are moving into the proper Christmas period now, aren't we? We can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it'll start. The charts will be populated by a lot of these kind of books. The hardback fiction charts are always brilliant at this time of year because you do see a lot of the really popular authors come to the fore. You know, Ian Rankin and Leah Child, those types. Mm-hmm. People buying them for Christmas presents and stuff like that. I always have a list. Do you have a list of books that you want for Christmas?
I do, and I always get a Lee Child for Christmas, and I read it. I set time over Christmas to read the new Lee Child when I'm not working and I can relax and I can really enjoy it. So. Yeah,
very similar in that regard. I do. Although there are books that I will save. You know, I'll think, well, I won't buy that now. I'll wait and get that for Christmas. And then end up like 2 weeks before Christmas buying it myself. I've waited 6 months. But no, I saw it in. I was in Tesco today. Other retailers are available, but yeah, they had like a whole section of Christmas books, and I saw our guest from last week, where. Her book was there, The Woman in Cabin 10, and it was only £5. It was still priced down to £5. I think that's an absolute bargain for a hardback book, and it's
really is.
A back book in particular. So, if you are shopping Tesco and you see that stand, go and have a look, see if you can find their book and pick it up.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if it's not there, buy it somewhere else. It is. You
exactly.
know, there are other retailers available. As you said.
Or support your local independent bookshop.
That's probably the better idea. Let's go with that one instead, because otherwise I get hate mail from them, and I don't like hate mail. No, it's horrible. It's you know, it always smells of shit. This week in Reviewers Corner, we are joined by Ayo Onatade. She is a social networking administrator and a clerk for a judge in the Court of Appeal by day, but she's also a book reviewer and a major fan of athletics and American football and living in London, England. She is a special crime reporter at Shots E-Zine and is also an associate member of the CWA. Welcome, Ayo.
Hi, guys.
Thanks very much for joining us. Thanks very much. Which is your first book this week?
Well, my first book this week is the Erik stories, Nothing Short of Dying, which came out earlier this year. Well, it's the first in hopefully what is going to be a series about a guy called Clyde Barr, who basically gets caught up looking for his sister who's gone missing. And it's one of those books that is, to be honest, quite a page turner and involves, you know, the backwood of Colorado, drugs, mayhem, and an outstanding character, which, to be honest, could quite easily give Jack Reacher a run for his money.
Ooh. Like the sound of that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you haven't read it, I've got to say, please do.
Well, that's fantastic. And who publishes that book?
It is published by Simon & Schuster here in the UK.
Oh,
that's mine. I can get a free copy. They're my publisher.
Are you? Oh, naughty you!
So, is it very much in the Reacher mold? Then is it you know, like that kind of thriller?
It is.
Excellent.
It is. I mean, it is in the Reacher mold because the character's been on the run for 16 years, and he was unjustly convicted. He comes out, and he just wants to live his life. And then he finds himself receiving this frantic phone call from his sister, and she's, you know, saying, please come and help me and rescue me. And, you know, he doesn't know how much time he's got left to do this, and he just finds himself in this situation where there's drug running, all sorts of stuff. His sister's kidnapped, and I think of it a bit like it's very noirish, but I think it's more county noir to say because it's not really based in the city. You're in the bush, Colorado, and it's just absolutely fab.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
That sounds brilliant. That I quite like I'm a big Reacher fan. So that sounds like something that's right up
Oh,
my
who
street.
isn't a big Richard fan?
Yeah.
Who isn't a big Richard fan?
Yeah.
Excellent. So what's your second book this week, Ayo?
My second book this week is not due to come out until next year, but it's Spook Street by the absolutely brilliant Mick Herron.
I've heard a lot about him recently. So what's Spook Street about?
Spook Street, as one can think of, is about spooks, and it is very kind of like spyish. It's a continuation of the series that he's been doing, and it's published by John Murray, and it's about his character David Cartwright, who's basically retired and has been retired for 20 years, but he still knows when people on his trail, and he's asked to investigate a murder and of one of his his colleagues that he used to work for, and I haven't actually read it yet, and I'm really looking forward to reading it because I think spy thrillers are having a renaissance at the moment.
Yeah.
And Mick Herron is amongst the best.
Yeah.
He is. Mick Herron, former, don't know if a former, but Mick Herron won the Gold Dagger, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He did. He's a hell of a writer and a lovely guy. I met him at Crime Fest last year. Just a superb fella.
I've met him as well on a number of occasions, and he's very unassuming.
Yes, he's very down to earth, and he is. He's a lovely guy, and a hell of a writer. I've heard lots of people all over social media talking about Mick Herron and what a fantastic writer he is. Now, I have one of those books, I think, on my shelf, but I'm going to start that series because I hear they're just fantastic.
Yes, I mean there are 3 books so far. There's the Slow Horses, Real Tigers, Dead Lions, and now this one called Spook Street. And if you haven't read it, naughty you, go ahead and read it.
Well, I feel myself severely reprimanded, so I'll be reading that shortly.
Absolutely.
You should. I mean, I've got to say that I also met Erik Storey this year at in New Orleans in Balticon.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I actually got to hang out with him and his wife. And he is absolutely brilliant. He has got such a dry, quirky sense of humor. And one of the things that came across from talking to him is that he was just so overwhelmed in the way in which, he's been absorbed into the crime fiction world. And this, of course, is his first novel.
Oh.
Yes, Nothing Short of Dying is his first novel, and he's just so brilliant about and unassuming about the way people have just dragged him in, and not even kicking and screaming, just made him feel so welcome. And if you do get the chance to chat to him, you should. If next time you go to Balticon, either of you, especially you, Steve,
yes,
you get the chance to talk to him, do so. The 2 of you would get on incredibly well.
Oh, will do. I'll make a point now. Looking out for his book and saying hello to him. That sounds great. That's brilliant. So you're involved with Shots, that whole crowd of Mike Stoddard and Ali Kareem. How did you get it? How did you get into that?
In a really roundabout manner, I have 2 people to blame.
Yes.
Thalia Proctor, who is now chief copy editor at Little Brown. But at the time we first met, there used to be a crime fiction bookshop in Covent Garden called Criming Store. And I basically walked into that bookshop the second day it's open, and Thalia and I became friends immediately. And then she said to me, "You've got to come to a book signing." And it was Harlan Coben's very, very first book signing in London. And I turned up with my original copies of his Milan Bolete series with the skeletons on the front. And
yes.
Yeah, and those are so hard to come by now. And I was standing there feeling all shy and just not saying very much. Then Thalia introduced me to Mike Stotter. And at the time, Shots was a magazine. Mike said to me, "Do you want to do some reviewing for me?" And I kind of thought, why? By the end of the evening, I agreed. And it just progressed from there. And then Shots became just an online website. Then the blog came out. And then Mike basically just gave me the blog to deal with. And we've known each other for, God almighty, it must be at least 20 plus years now.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's
isn't it?
fantastic.
Have you always been a reader though, a really avid reader, Ayo?
Yes. My mum used to leave us in the library when we were younger and go and do her shopping, and then she'd come back and she would have to wait until we finished reading the books we'd taken out, because we didn't want to take those ones home. We wanted to take fresh ones home. So I know, it's so hilariously funny. When I say this to her, she looks at me in France and I say, yes, this is what happened. But I've always been a reader. Crime fiction has always been my main reading. Though I did read all the other sorts of stuff, like what Katie did or what Katie did next, but crime fiction has been the main thing since I was 10, crime fiction.
And you have a very important day job as well, Ayo.
Yes, I do. I basically, I work at the Supreme Court, and my job involves running what I call the private office for 12 judges, and I'm also PA to 2 of them, one of them being the Deputy President of the Supreme Court.
Wow.
I feel like we should have been wearing suits when we did this now.
That would have been nice. You'd be surprised when I go to book stuff after work and I'm dressed up, dressed for work, and people sometimes don't recognize me because they're so used to seeing me at, crime fiction conferences, and I'm in a t-shirt and a pair of jeans or something like that. You don't look the same.
Well, that's excellent, Ayo. Thanks very much for joining us this week. Your 2 books were Nothing Short of Dying by Erik Storey and Spook Street and by Mick Herron. That's fantastic, and we'll speak to you soon, Ayo. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Thanks, Ayo. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, folks, just popping up here to give you a shout out for First Monday Crime. If you don't know about First Monday Crime, this is a regular crime fiction event which is run by Goldsborough Books, the fabulous Goldsborough Books in London. And there is a Christmas First Monday Crime coming up, which is on the 5th of December. And it's at Brown's Courtrooms in London. And we've got Barry Forshaw talking to Mark Billingham. We've got
Sorry, you said Barry Forshaw. You can't gloss over that.
Barry Forshaw. That's how what I is it Barry Forshaw?
I would go Forshaw.
Well then, it's just my accent. I know Barry. He's class. He gave me a brilliant review in the Times. He's a lovely man.
You know where he's from?
Oh, the Financial Times. I know where Barry's from now.
He's from Liverpool.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Then he's Barry Forshaw.
He's Barry Forshaw. He's Barry, of course he's from Liverpool. He's called Barry, that's where all the Barrys are from.
Well, Barry Forshaw and Mark, he's talking to Mark Billingham, he's talking to Alex Marwood, and Daniel Pembray, and Corey Jackson, and other people as well, and it'll be fantastic, and you should go and see it.
Alex Marwood's on there.
Yeah, Alex Marwood, yeah.
And Ursa Sigurd, I should never have even tried.
What are you doing, man? What are you doing? I glossed over professionally Ursa's name.
Sigurd daughter or something.
Sigurd the daughter. Yeah, well, that's.
I'm allowed to do this.
This is why I don't read Scandi fiction.
Yeah.
This is why I don't read Scandi fiction.
You can't say the names when you walk
into the shop. I can't say it.
This is actually really good as well. You should read Ursa.
I've heard she's fantastic. Yeah.
But no, I've heard a lot about these events. Been going on every month. The first Monday in every month is when they go on, and they've had some incredible people doing them. And this one sounds like it's going to be just as good. I mean, if you've got Mark Billingham anywhere near anything, it's always going to be better. But Alex Marwood, she's superb. Have you ever seen her on a panel or anything?
No, I've not.
She's fantastic. The problem is, right, it's in London.
Yeah.
Means that we never get down to London, do we?
Rarely. But I'm lucky, I've got no alibis, which is always a fantastic event. So, folks, if you're anyone in Northern Ireland, go and check out No Alibis. I've got Robert Olin Butler and Neil Haggerty on the 1st of December, and lots more gigs, so go and check them out.
And Waterstones in Liverpool 1, which is where I go to all my stuff.
Yeah.
They've got brilliant events coming up, mainly involving me. And I think I've mentioned it a couple of times. There's also another local shop in Liverpool and that's called Right Blend, and they have some fantastic events. You can find them on Facebook, and they are brilliant events. That they put on 3 or 4 events a week sometimes.
Yeah.
A really good bookshop as well. The guy who runs it, Bob, is just one of the best guys you'll ever meet. And that's, it's so brilliant when you find those independent bookshops that are so enthusiastic about books, and that bleeds through into the things that they do as well. But yeah, the first Monday thing I think is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, it sounds great. It sounds great.
Yeah.
I know a few people who've been to it and said they're fantastic.
I will get down to one soon.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like it's something that is really taken off in a great way. And it's always nice to see where you get people together, authors, and just let them go. It's brilliant, and especially with that many authors as well.
Yeah.
Barry Forshaw is just an excellent chair.
Barry Forshaw is.
Yeah, for sure he is. But yeah, that's Monday, December 5th, did you say?
December 5th, yes, in Brown's Courtroom. So get down to that, folks. And Barry, will be there, I'll keep you right. Barry is, just say this as well. I've seen Barry moderating panels. Being a moderator of a panel is a very difficult job, but Barry does it probably better than anybody, I think. He is brilliant.
Excellent.
So yes, go and see that. And there's lots of brilliant authors touring the country at the moment, folks. So if you've never been to a live author event, go and have a look on the internet and see where it's close to you. Have a look, get in touch with your local bookshop and go out and see these people. Because they're great and they love people coming to see them as well. It's great.
Yeah. Don't take anything like a little bag to throw at them.
No.
That's not what we want you to do.
No. Go and see them and say hello and buy a book and be nice,
yeah.
And you'll have a great time.
This week we're joined by Mark Billingham. He is one of the UK's most acclaimed and popular crime writers. He's also a former actor, television writer and stand-up comedian. His series of novels featuring D.I. Tom Thorne has twice won him the Crime Novel of the Year award, as well as the Sherlock Award for Best British Detective. His standalone thriller In the Dark was chosen as one of the 12 best books of the year by The Times, and his debut novel, Sleepyhead, was chosen by the Sunday Times as one of the 100 books that have shaped the decade. Each of his novels has been a Sunday Times top 10 bestseller. There are 13 Thorne novels in the series, and he's also written 3 standalones. Welcome, Mark Billingham.
Hello.
Thanks very much for joining us, Mark.
Oh, pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Good to have you on.
So, 13 Thorne novels and 3 standalones.
Yeah.
I mean, 13 in a series. Are you still enjoying writing the series? Because I read I think Time of Death was number 13. And it certainly felt like you were still enjoying it.
Yeah, no, I am still enjoying it, but I think only because I've taken time away from it to do the standalones you mentioned. I think if I'd written 13 back to back, I'd probably be throwing myself off a tall building by now. I think you've got to do something else. I think to keep it fresh, to keep yourself interested.
Was it after number 5 or 6 in the series that you did In the Dark?
Yeah, maybe 5, I think, and. Yeah. I looked at people like Michael Connolly, you've got to learn from the best, haven't you? And I looked at the way they did it and, they established a series and then went off and did something else. And then you come back to the series fired up. That's the idea.
See, I think that is probably one of the things that I especially think about is taking that time away is to keep it fresh. And I think that's definitely worked with the Thorne series is it has been kept fresh by you just taking a year out and writing something different.
Well, I hope so. How many Murphy and Rossies we done now?
4 is just about to come out.
Okay, so how many are you going to do before you step away?
4.
He's halfway through this first Inspector Mallard novel.
Oh, now that's the one we're waiting for.
Yeah. Well, I haven't told the publisher yet, but that's what they're getting.
Mallard. They're getting the first in the Mallard series.
But I mean. What I'm most interested in about that is the series that was made it was a good few years ago now though. It was based on Sleepyhead and Scaredy Cat, and it was for Sky.
Yeah.
And you have David Morrissey playing Tom Thorne. Now I've told you this before, but you stole my Inspector Murphy.
Yeah, you've told me this before. I'm still not sorry.
I know you're not. It's brilliant. Why would you be sorry? I mean, how did that come about? That process. I mean, was David Morrissey in the frame quite early on?
he was in my frame. I mean, I just basically got this idea in my head that, I mean, you know what it's like from the minute your first book comes out. You know, people are going, you know, people are saying, who's going to play Rossi? And people are going, who's playing Eddie Flynn? You know what it's like. They do. And I just had this idea that if I kept saying David Morris's name often enough in interviews, eventually he'd find out about it. And one day he's filming in, I don't know where he was, you know, somewhere New Zealand. He was in New Zealand, and he wandered into a bookshop and he picked up a pile of books. One of them was mine. He read it. He liked it. He Googled my name and up came his name. And he read this interview and went, bloody hell, I'm playing this bloke. And he came back and he called me and I went round to his house and that was it. It was a done deal. And it was like my plan worked, Mr. Bond. You know, I got the actor I wanted, but, you know, that's very lucky because it doesn't always happen, does it?
No. I mean, I've moved on from David Morrissey now. I want Peter Serafinowicz.
Yeah, you've told me that. I think he'd be great.
He would be great.
Have you made any kind of approach to him? I don't mean kind of sexually, but although that might work too.
I don't know. I'll have to find out now. Just for curiosity.
Have you seen the things that Serafinowicz is doing online with Trump?
They're fantastic.
Sassy Trump.
It's amazing.
Brilliant. He is fantastic. I mean, he did a series on BBC years ago where he did it was like a sketch show type of thing. It was incredibly funny, but it was so out there that I don't think the BBC were quite expecting it because it kind of was shuffled off into like late night. No one wanted it there, you know. But that was brilliant. I mean, because he's from Liverpool originally. For people who don't know, I mean, does brilliant McCartney impression.
I think he does all the Beatles actually.
Yeah.
Oh, he's brilliant. He's brilliant, and a great straight actor too. I mean, he'd be ideal, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So you can keep David Morrissey now.
All right. What about Eddie Flynn, Steve?
I don't know. See, it's it have to be one of them American, you know, Hollywood guys.
One of them Americans.
American fellas. One of them, and it'd be very hard to get somebody like I thought Ryan Gosling could be a decent Eddie Flynn.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good shout.
But
you're going quite high there, aren't you? I mean,
see,
I'm going to Serafinowicz, I want Ryan Gosling.
You might as well aim high. There's no point saying I want that bloke who was in The Apprentice. You know, that bloke off The Bachelorette. I don't. You know, you might as well go for the big stars.
May as well.
See, I grew up in Liverpool. We were always taught to aim low, just hope for the
best. You're going to end up with one of the Krankies or something, nigga.
Yeah, that's Jimmy
That's
Krankie.
all right. What about Jeanette Krankie as Inspector Mallard?
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic.
It's off the wall, but I mean, you know, it's coming at it. It's counterintuitive. I get that.
I think she probably already has a duck costume. I would bet.
Almost certainly. Well, a duckling, possibly.
Yes, a duckling costume.
Something smaller than a duck.
The only thing is, I'm sure it's a duck costume that probably has never seen the light of day in public. It may be something for the bedroom.
It's probably one of those big fluffy ones that looks like a giant Orville. That she waddles about in and quacks in a Scottish accent. You've got 24 hours to crack the case, Mallard. Oh, I need more time than that.
This is genius. This is genius. I can hear people on ATV writing all this stuff down. Right, well, the kitchen out cracking. It'll be awesome.
I mean, you know, some of the stuff that is on telly, I think it probably would get an audience. I've said this to you before, Steve. I still think it would get 7 million on a Sunday night.
I think it would. It definitely would. The Curious Incident of the Quack in the Night Time.
Midsummer Mallard.
Midsummer Mallard. It's there. It's all there.
It's there.
We're messed about with Murphy and Ross and Eddie Flynn.
Low-hanging fruit to be plucked.
Yes. It's just all there. Of course, your fruit has already been plucked, Mr. Billingham. You've already got a couple of things in development, is that right?
Yeah. There's a new series coming early next year called In the Dark, which is based on 2 books, In the Dark and Time of Death, one of which is a Thorne novel, but the series won't have Thorne in it, which is just a bit of an oddity. But the series is going to be about Helen Weeks, who currently in the world of the books is Thorne lives with. But the series is going to be all about her. Yeah, and that's already shot and done and ready to go. So that'll be out, I think, in January.
Who's playing Helen?
Helen is being played by Mianna Buring, who was in Ripper Street and Downton Abbey, and she's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, I know we're joking around about casting here, but all you can ever really want is a good actor. I mean, that's that's the bottom line. If they're really good, you're fine. It doesn't matter what they look like, really. I mean, I don't even mind Tom Cruise playing Jack Reacher. It really doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, me neither.
It's a film. It's a different animal.
I really like the Reacher film. I haven't seen the new one. I've not
seen the second one, but
no, neither have I. But I thought the first one, was really, really good.
Yeah.
And I bought into it.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, it was great because the hardest thing to translate are those sort of internal moments. When you see, because Reacher's a real thinking character. It's not so much about his size. Like in the books, he often outthinks his opponent before the first punch is thrown, and I think that transferred really well to the screen. And Tom Cruise was great at that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fine. You just have to accept that they're different things, the book and the film, or the book and the TV show, whatever it is, and just get on with it.
Well, were your fans happy with David Morrissey as Thorne?
Most of them were, but you always get people. I remember we showed a clip of it at the Edinburgh Festival as a sort of trailer a couple of months before the show went out, and the lights went up. We showed this trailer, and I was really pleased with it. And the lights went up, and I said, "There you go. What do you think?" And a woman in the front row just went, "He's too tall." What are you going to do? Not everybody's ever going to be happy. Every reader has a different picture of the characters in their heads, don't they? And that's what makes reading special, I suppose.
She must have been imagining Thorne as a sort of a midget. Then.
She wanted Jeanette Krankie. She was the one that wanted Jeanette Krankie. And we auditioned her. To be fair, we auditioned her, and she had it all going on. But the problem was the leading actress was 3 feet taller than she was, and it was it was never good. The chemistry just wasn't there.
No, it would be hard, with all those chase scenes as well. Driving the car, you wouldn't see her.
She kept tripping over her school uniform. It was a nightmare.
I mean, your experience of television goes back quite a bit further than the Thorne series. A few years ago. It goes back to early 90s, was it, when you did the series with Tony Robinson? Was it Maid Marian and I can't remember what it's called now.
Maid Marian and Her Merry Men.
I was right. I don't know why I doubted myself.
Yeah.
I watched that. I loved that.
It feels like donkeys years ago now, although suddenly people are talking about it a lot on Twitter. Tony's just had an autobiography out, and he's been talking about it. And I think it was 27 years ago or something crazy. But we did 4 series of it, and a Christmas special and a musical, and it was the best job I ever had. I mean, it was just a brilliant job. I just ran about in a forest with a big sword, telling jokes essentially that Tony wrote. For about 4 years, it was a joy to do, and it was one of those programs they don't make anymore. The BBC left us alone to do it. They built an entire village in the woods in Somerset, and it was fantastic. It was really, really a pleasure to do, and I look back on it with great fondness.
I mean, you wrote on that. Did you write on that series? Am I right?
Yeah, I did. Essentially, that's how I became a writer. Basically, Tony. By the time we got to series 3 and 4, Tony was horrendously busy. And he knew I wrote, and the other guard in it, the guy who played Graham, I played Gary, the guy who played Graham in it, he wrote as well. So Tony said, look, do you want to start storylining the episodes? So we storylined the episode, then we wrote an episode. And then when the series finished, sort of by default, I'd become a television writer. I never really intended to. And I guess everything changed. Funny, isn't it? I went to one audition as a jobbing actor to play a Norman soldier. And a few years later, I'm a writer. Very strange.
Well, why was it crime fiction though that kind of took hold? Because if you're writing comedy, what was the kind of blend between the two?
Well, I didn't even know there was one at the time. I mean, I was writing comedy and I was doing comedy on stage as a stand-up, but all the stuff I read was just really dark crime fiction. That's all it's all I can read. It's all I can still read, really. I'm not a fan of the comedy crime novel. I think it's a really difficult thing to pull off. It's like comedy horror film. It's scary or it's funny, and I don't think how it can be both. So I was always going to write a crime novel if I ever wrote any kind of novel. And just sat down towards the end of the 1990s, about 2000, and wrote what became Sleepyhead, and just got lucky first time, and that was that.
See, tell me about Sleepyhead, because I mean that has one of the it was one of the finest debuts in crime fiction I've ever read, and it was one that reinvigorated my love of crime fiction when I was in the early 20s, and it was the idea of someone being left alive was him succeeding. How did that come to you?
I had read this book called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, written by this, I think it's a French photojournalist, and he had locked-in syndrome, which is exactly what you've just described, somebody who cannot move, who's completely trapped inside their own body. And he dictated the entire book by blinking. It was all he could do was blink. And I just thought this was like horrible, almost a fate worse than death. And at the time, my wife, who's a TV director, was directing Casualty. And I'd had this twisted idea that I wondered if it was possible to do that to somebody on purpose. So I went and had a word with the guy who was like the medical advisor on that show, and amazing guy called Phil Coburn, and who eventually became Phil Hendricks in the books. I went to see him, and he said, yeah, you could do it, but it would be enormously difficult. And if you got it ever so slightly wrong, you'd kill him. And that was just like the sort of light bulb moment when I just went, I've got the book here. And as you say, all the people that die, they think are the successes, but in fact, it's not until they find the first victim who's still alive that they figure out what it is this nasty piece of work is trying to do.
And when you were writing Sleephead, did you envisage the Tom Thorne character being a series character?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I remember when I was going to see publishers, it was the first question they asked, because back then, the series was the holy grail, and pretty much every publisher said, "Is this going to be a series?" And I went, "Yep." I'd probably have lied, even if I'd probably gone, "Oh yeah, absolutely, I've got the next 6 planned out." I did want to write a series, yeah, but I hadn't really thought Thorne through. I didn't know very much about him or anything like that. It was just I needed a cop for the first book, so it was him. And yeah, it's fairly amazing to think that he's still knocking around 13 books later.
Except for his love of techno music, wasn't it? That didn't survive. No. That was a major misstep. Well, it was that thing of I thought I can't just have him like the kind of music I like. So I gave him this ludicrous penchant for techno and speed garage, which is music I absolutely loathe and know nothing about. And I ended up having to do so much research to get the music right that I quietly dropped it after the first book, hoping nobody would notice. And from that point on, it was just country, country, country.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the country music, because you have, and I'm sure a lot of people know this, you've gone on the road now as a country artist.
On the road?
Part of my other half. Yeah, on the road.
Oh, I thought you said gone rogue. Like, running around in the jungle with a
country band
and a guitar.
Well, you have kind of gone rogue. Yeah, you have a wee bit. Well, you've been up and down the country with my darling Clementine.
I am, and in fact, tomorrow we are off to Norway to do the show at a festival in Bergen. Yeah, we've been doing it on and off nearly 2 years now. Basically, they were a country band, My Darling Clementine, who I really loved, and I put them in a book, name checked them in a book, and they got in touch and said, let's do something together. So I wrote a story weaved around a number of their songs, and then they wrote some extra songs, and we wrote a song together, and suddenly we had an album, and we had a touring show, and it's been hard work. I mean, I think last year I drove 7,000 miles doing this show. But that's the life of a traveling musician. That's what they do every week. And yeah, it's been great. I've loved having that kind of side project. Again, it's that thing we were talking about stepping away and doing something different. And it's fun to collaborate, isn't it? I mean, we spend all our lives, or most of our lives, sitting on our own like Billy No Mates in front of a computer. It's very nice to get out and do something that involves other people now and again.
It is, yeah. That's kind of like
you two,
enjoy this.
You two have now become the Vic and Bob, the Laurel and Hardy, the Jeanette Krankie and whoever the other one was, the Paul and Barry Tuckle of podcasts.
Yes, we are the Chuckle Brothers of the crime fiction world. Yeah. well, we kind of are. We sort of started this off as we'll do it for a bit of crack, and now it's kind of turned into a thing, hasn't it? So Well, we're still enjoying it.
A very fine thing it is too.
Oh, thank you for saying so. There's a question I was wanted to ask you, because you're one of the most successful authors in the UK. And I'm starting a new book, and I reread Stephen King's On Writing. And I love that moment where Stephen King, the paperback rights to Carrie sold for like $200,000.
Yeah. And
he's no money, and he sort of collapses in his apartment. His wife's work, he goes out and can't buy anything because everywhere's closed, and he buys her a hairdryer to celebrate. But there's a brilliant description of that moment. And a writer's career is full of little brilliant moments. Are there any moments you look back on now very fondly and think, yeah, that was my moment, or that was a thing for me?
I think it was the moment that I knew I was going to be published. I was, I don't remember exactly where I was. I was standing in Brent Cross Shopping Centre, and my wife was inside a shop, and I was standing outside, wanting to slash my wrists, thinking we don't need any more cushions, or something like that. Anyway, that's where I was, and the phone rang, and it was my agent, just to say whichever publisher it was had made an offer, and on Sleepyhead, and that's the moment when you know it's going to be published. Yeah. And that was that. That was just a golden moment. And I think the day you stop finding, to be honest, I get excited seeing any book of mine in any shop anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think the day that stops being exciting is the day you should probably shut your laptop and never, darken a bookshop's door again. I mean, it's massively exciting. We're professional writers, and so many people want to do that. And there are so many people who can write us all under the table who don't get that lucky break and get to be that. Mm-hmm. But we sit and make stuff up for a living, and it's glorious. And I never want to stop feeling like that's a brilliant thing.
How does that compare to the adrenaline buzz from stand-up?
There's no question that the adrenaline buzz from stand-up is pretty great. Although you do get the flip side of that, of course, which is when you die on your ass, and which I've done many, many times. And you never. I was talking to one of my best mates the other night. He was a comic who's been around for years and just had a horrible death last week. And he's just saying it never gets any better. You're over it like an hour later, but it's still the most horrible, horrible feeling. And your mouth goes dry, and people are staring at you, or they're shouting at you, or they're slow hand clapping, or they're being smart asses and going taxi or next or whatever it is. And I don't think we have to put up with that as writers. We get the odd 1-star review, but at least you can't see their faces,
Exactly. They're not shouting at you across a room.
The best death I ever had. I was dying on my arse at a club called Jongleurs in Camden, and it was 2:00 in the morning, and I walked on, and I was last act on, and I knew, instantly. You open your mouth and you just think they've had enough. They've had enough. They just didn't want to know, and I struggled for about 5 minutes, and I was getting nothing. And then there was a guy sitting in the front who I think was Polish. And I just started talking to him, and he was, his English wasn't great, and I was just asking him what Polish was for various words. And I started to get a reaction out of the audience, and I started to think, I can save this, I can pull this round. And I was asking him what was Polish for various dirty words. I'm going, what's Polish for cock? And he's telling me, and I'm getting a bit of a laugh, and I'm thinking, this is great. And then a voice at the back just goes, what's Polish for your shit? Good night.
That's brilliant. I love heckler stories and stories about people dying on stage, because the thought of doing that absolutely terrifies me. Of going on, because we go on and talk about books, but that's easy. Nobody's really expecting to be entertained. No.
A really brilliant comedian called Jim Tavares used to open with he used to go, good evening, I'm a schizophrenic. And a voice at the back just went, well, the pair of you can fuck off there. You can't compete with that, can you? When the audience is funnier than you're in big trouble.
Oh, God, you really are. You really. There was one I heard. Do you watch comedians in cars getting coffee? There's a brilliant episode with Steve Martin. He's talking about this comic was in this big hotel somewhere in America, and the hotel, the ballroom, there was a huge big window that overlooked the river, and they had magicians and stuff, and then comedians would come on. But this comedian was on and doing a set, and what had happened the day before was a guy in a wheelchair had committed suicide by throwing himself off the pier into the water. So this comedian's doing a set, and behind him there's a crane. And they're lifting this man still in the wheelchair because he had strapped himself to the wheelchair to go down. They're pulling behind the comedian.
Oh
and
my God!
They're pulling the body out on this crane. And the comedian comes off stage because obviously his back is to all this. Comes off stage and said, "I did my best shit. No one laughed." Pulling the corpse.
You can't compete with a corpse. That's very tricky. You need some shit-hot material to deal with that kind of nonsense.
The only way to deal with it would be to turn around and talk about it, I suppose.
Yeah, still pretty tricky.
That's still, yeah. I'm still saying that's tricky to get on. I mean, it is all performance art in some way, though, isn't it? I think I've said this before on the podcast. Is that, you know, writing a book is like, you know, throwing something out there and saying, okay, now judge me and judge my performance. It's just a different way of doing it. I mean,
100%.
Is that something that you've always been drawn to, though? Is that performing kind of angle?
Yeah, I suppose showing off in one way, shape, or form. And I think you're absolutely right, Luca. I think writing a book is a performance. It's just a very different kind of performance, but you're trying to give the best performance you can, which in the terms of what we do means, you know, keeping those pages turning, telling a good story, providing something that's gripping, you know, all that stuff, giving, you know, great characters that the reader can empathize with. That's the performance you're trying to give. But it is a performance. And increasingly, of course, and here we are doing it, you've also got to perform yourself in a way that authors didn't have to do, you know, 20 years ago. And some authors find it very hard. You know, they'd rather stick needles in their eyes, sit on a stage, on a panel, you know, go to a festival, do something like this, give a radio interview, whatever it is. But increasingly, we've got to sell ourselves as much as we sell the books, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's
I
not
mean, is
something
that something you guys were comfortable with straight away?
I know I was, but I had a background in showing off beforehand. I don't know about you, Steve.
I was really nervous. The first thing I ever did actually was with you, Mark.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
I do.
It was in Bangor. It was Colin Bateman. My book hadn't even come out yet, and it was Bangor. It was Colin Bateman, yourself, and Stuart Neville. And Colin asked me to go along, and I was so nervous. And then you guys did me the greatest favor. You all got me drunk before the thing, and it was like 50 people in a bar, all pissed. And I was so nervous, but I managed just to get through it. And then it was sort of okay after that.
It was a cracking evening.
It was great. I had a brilliant time. I don't remember much about it.
The only time that I got nervous was before first panel I did, but I didn't get nervous like the stuff that I did before that, which was like, you know, library stuff, and we did me launch and Waterstone stuff. Wasn't nervous at all. First panel at Crime Fest I did, I was nervous, and it was because someone said to me 10 minutes beforehand, there's a lot of people here, and if you said something like, you know, bad, then your career could be over. And I don't even remember who said that to me, and I was just, all I could think of was, don't say fuck all, don't say nothing, because because you're likely to say something and people will come up going, did you hear what that Scouser said? And that would be it.
I think you've got to say something pretty dreadful on a panel to ruin your
career. I realise that.
We can probably both think of a couple of. We can all think of a couple of examples.
Yeah,
but it's pretty hard to do that. Really, I think you'd have to slaughter a puppy on stage. I think it's that thing of you're on a team. You know, when you're on a panel, you don't want to make an idiot of yourself. I know exactly what you mean. You know, we're all trying to come across as desperately smart and knowledgeable and have something to say. And sometimes you just haven't, have you? Sometimes.
I think that for me it was like it was just all I could think of was that I'd done everything local. They all could understand me for a kick-off, and then it was doing something like in Bristol and with people who had very different accents than I did. Sometimes a lack of accent completely, and I just thought, oh, you don't belong here. You don't belong here. And then that kind of feeling has gone now somewhat, but it is that feeling of like I don't belong here. What are you doing? You know, it was always very difficult to get over at first, I think. But that was like 3-4 years ago now. I'm fine now. I don't care. It's just like, I'm a Scouser. Deal with it.
I think a lot of us have that thing of, you know, almost every author I know has that feeling that we're all just getting away with it.
Yeah.
And you're waiting for that little tap on the shoulder. and somebody says, "Listen, it's all been a horrendous mistake. There's been an administrative error, and actually, it was somebody called Mike Billingham who was supposed to have your career." And do you know what I mean? And you're about to get dragged off stage with a big hook, because it goes back to that thing I was talking about luck. You know, and you must have had this, you know, when somebody goes, "How do you get published?" or, you know, "How do you have a successful career as an author?" And it's like, you work hard and you be lucky. And, you know, you can have all the talent in the world and have none of the luck and get nowhere. Or have a modicum of talent and a lot of luck and manage to have a career. But there's luck involved somewhere.
Absolutely.
I definitely agree with that. So what's the most important thing you've learned over the 16, 17 years you've been published now?
That you've got to change what you do a bit. You know, we're all trying to write a better book every time. You won't always, but you have to at least have that ambition, to try not to write the same book over and over again. Which, you know, and that temptation is there, especially when you write a series, because the fans of the series are they want certain boxes ticked. And if you don't tick them, you get grief, you know. Oh, why wasn't he in it? Why wasn't she in it? You know, that kind of stuff. But you've just got to do what you want to do and tell the story you're trying to tell. And I think take the work extremely seriously, but don't take yourself at all seriously. Is kind of the only way to get through it, I think.
That's very, very good advice.
I wish I could say I'd come up with it, but I've heard hundreds of people say it over the years, so I'm not going to claim I'm the first person that's thought of that. But, you know, come on, we've all been on panels with writers who take themselves far too seriously, who talk about writing as if it's this desperately mystical thing, you know, and they talk about muses and they talk about bleeding their souls onto their keyboards, and it's just like, oh, shut up. Just shut up.
Oh, I've definitely been there.
I back away slowly. I don't engage them. Don't look them in the eye. Don't make eye contact. Just back away slowly. Leave them alone.
I remember getting into an argument with a writer over something they'd said, where they said the character did something that I was not expecting whatsoever, and I'm still quite angry about it. And I'm like, no, that's not how it happened. You just changed your mind.
Exactly. Who was doing the typing, for Christ's sake?
It was like, so you're not a writer then? You're a typist. You know, that's all you are. You're just transcribing. Yeah.
You're channeling voices.
I mean,
it's nonsense, all that. It's nonsense. You know, the idea that it is this mystical thing and that ideas descend on fairy dust, you know. You just sit in a chair and you make some stuff up. You know, that's what we do. And then you hone it and you shape it and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you're the one making the decisions, like you say.
Exactly.
It's telling the story. I mean, as a species, we are storytellers. You know, that's how we kind of propagated over the years, is that we've told each other stories. And this is just a way of telling different kind of stories and entertaining people with stories. You know, it's not a mythical thing. I've never once bought into that idea, because otherwise I did try to, because I thought, okay, I'll just let the characters tell me what to do, and I spent 3 days just staring at a blank screen. It was shit. Nearly missed my deadline.
You know, you may as well ask the dog what it thinks, because you've been waiting this long. That's just rubbish. Yeah. But Mr. Billingham, you're also doing brilliantly well in the podcasting world with A Stab in the Dark.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of fun.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, well, you know what it's like. You just sit down and you talk to interesting people, and you know, we've had some really good guests on the show, and we've got a couple more still to go in this series with some great guests. I don't know whether I'm allowed to say. Yeah, probably. We've got Patricia Cornwell coming up, who I had a very interesting chat with a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, it's fun. It's fun to do. You know, there's a certain amount of preparation involved, but, you know, it's something else. It's just doing something different and keeping sort of creative juices flowing, you know, in a slightly different direction. I've just delivered a book and done the final draft on it. So I'm in that kind of sort of in-betweeny period where I've probably got a couple of weeks now before that nagging little voice says you better start thinking about writing another one. But, you know, so I'm just having fun doing that at the minute.
So is the next novel a Thorn novel?
It is. And it'll be out next year, and it's called Love Like Blood.
Oh, God, that's a good title. Oh,
and it's about honour crime, about honour killing.
Oh, that's very interesting. How much research went into that then?
Quite a lot, and it made me, in all seriousness, it made me angrier than almost anything I've ever researched. I mean, we all research stuff that sometimes you go, bloody hell, or my God, This actually made me furious, some of the stuff I found out. And I think that's all gone into the book, and hopefully the book's the better for it. But we'll see. We'll have to see.
I'm looking forward to that already. That sounds fantastic.
Weren't you guys going to be talking about mucky stuff tonight?
Well, we have been.
You haven't done the mucky stuff.
Yes, but that's my next question. Well, that's my next question is...
all right, then.
I mean, I can't, off the top of my head, and I'm an avid fan of your novels, but I can't, off the top of my head, remember any kind of bad sex in the books, or any sex really at all. Have you written sex scenes in the books?
My sex scenes just tend to consist of things like they went to bed.
Yeah.
They made love, they fucked. I mean, seriously, I have a real issue with it, which is that unless you are genuinely trying to show the reader something interesting about these characters, I don't see any more reason to show them having sex than there is to show them going to the toilet or having their breakfast. Or we all know what it is. And if it's something that is really revelatory about character, so say you've got a bloke who is insanely powerful, and lives his life as one of the, but actually when he goes to bed with someone, he likes to be tied up and spanked. That, you're saying something quite interesting about that character. You're showing another side to them. But if it's just straightforward sort of vanilla shagging, I maybe that's just because I'd be awful at it. Maybe I'm just scared, but I genuinely don't see much reason to go into detail. So I tend to close the bedroom door. I'm not shy about saying it's happened. There was a sex scene there's a sex scene in Die of Shame, very briefly, in an alleyway. But, it's there because it's in an alleyway, and it's saying something about one of the characters or both of the characters. But aside from that, I tend to steer clear of it. Also, there is that thing of, what it's like. We can write the most, graphic scenes of violence, and nobody ever thinks we've done it. But one little sex scene, and people start pointing at you and going, "Oh, you did that, didn't you? You dirty."
That's exactly right. I think that all the time. If I've met someone and I read a sex scene at the front, I think, "You dirty." They must like that. But they've done that. That's very strange.
I'm good friends with an American writer called George Pelecanos, and me and him and our wives went away on holiday, and my wife was reading one of George's books. So we're in this hotel room, and they're in another hotel room, and there's this really graphic sex scene in the novel that my wife was reading that George had written. And next morning, over the breakfast table, she could barely look at him. She was officially, he was like, "What's the matter?" And she went, "That scene." She really was kind of judging him for that scene he'd written. In a way, she wouldn't have judged him for anything else he'd written. But it was like a sex scene made all the difference, It's really weird. And also, I think, you never want to run the risk of the bad sex award or anything like that, because it's a very difficult thing to write, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, George was up for the bad sex award last year with a martini shot.
Was he?
Yeah. He didn't. He did. Obviously, there was a contender last year who beat all comers.
Who beat away all comers very easily.
Exactly. Very easily.
One of the things about the Bad Sex Award, Dave Baddiel was saying something very interesting about it on Twitter, which was that actually you look at all the things that are nominated for it. Always there are a couple that are just funny, and that are intentionally funny. And I sometimes think the people that judge these things are actually really quite po-faced and are not seeing a joke when it's staring them in the face. Certainly that's not, the Morrissey book was not, he wasn't trying to be funny at all. I don't think he'd know funny if it smacked him in the mouth. No. But some of them I think are ever so slightly taking the piss.
Yeah, there's one this year which I think it might be sort of taking the piss. There is a bit of a joke in one of them. The one about the passport.
Yeah.
That I think is a joke. But it's still bizarre.
I think so. Then again, sex is a very difficult thing to be funny about.
I don't know. I think the act itself is incredibly funny. If you look at it from a distance, you think, "What are you doing?"
I like looking at it from a distance. Some people call that stalking. But
Listen. No, it's never been proved in a court of law. And if I ever got taken to court, Steve is definitely going to defend me.
No, I'm hearing nothing. I'm not having.
But it is. I mean, I suppose the thing about it is, if we write about it, you're writing about something that people do. You know, that most people do or have done at some point. So you know, it's very hard to describe it in any way that is new and interesting and tells you something you didn't know about those characters. So often I think it's best to steer clear of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I've literally at one time in I think it was the first book, I've kind of intimated that someone went to bed. That's about as close as I've got.
Did they put their pajamas on?
No, it was literally like they looked at each other, and then the next day he drove away from her house, and that was, that was it.
That is the way to do it. Shall we have another glass of wine? And then the chapter ends, and you go, next morning. That's the way to do it. That's the British way.
Yeah.
See, I'm quite lucky in my books. Nobody has time to have sex.
That's right, because you know, there's bombs going to go off. There's people are going to die. There's no time for a bit of fumbling, is there? Even a quickie.
Exactly. You can't. You've no time. Just move on.
We've only got 3.5 minutes, mind you. That's long enough for me, to be honest. And that includes dinner.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, that's fantastic. I think on that note, we'll let you get back to enjoying your couple of weeks off between books.
Cheers, mate.
I just want to mention that I think it's a week on Thursday now. You're going to be up in Liverpool with me.
I am
in Waterstones
to celebrate your publication.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that we'll just spend an hour me just asking you questions again, though. Because it's just like,
we're going to be talking about Inspector Mallard.
It's going to be Inspector Mallard. But no, it's Thursday the 1st of December at 6:30 at Waterstones in Liverpool 1. I can't wait for that. You've been up to Liverpool recently, though, haven't you, with My Darling Clementine? With My Darling Clementine, and I saw you when I was up there interviewing Elvis Costello at the Royal Court. And now that was brilliant. Now, because you were an Elvis Costello fan. Yeah. That was fantastic to watch because it was just amazing. It was just like, dreams can come true. Yes, it was one of those moments. We're going to have fun on the first. It's going to be brilliant. Very much looking forward to it. I can't wait. Thanks very much for joining us, and we appreciate you coming on and speaking to us. Thanks ever so much for asking me. Cheers, guys. Thanks very much,
Cheers,
Mark.
Thanks,
Bye
man.
now. That just about wraps it up for this week. We're going to end by lamenting about the passing of an incredible thriller writer that happened this week. The American thriller writer Roger Hobbs, the author of Ghostman and Vanishing Games, died aged 28. He wrote The Ghostman during his senior year of college, which made him the youngest person ever to win a CWA Ian Fleming Steel Dagger. And as well as winning the award for the best thriller of 2013, he was longlisted for a John Creasy Award for best first novel that year as well. It's incredible sad news that he's died at age 28. Rachel Rayner, who was the commissioning editor at Transworld Publishers, said when she first found him in 2013, it was clear that Roger has an incredible future ahead. And it's really sad that it's come to this really early end, Steve.
Yeah, I was devastated when I heard this. In fact, folks, if you go back and listen to episode 2, Stuart Neville and me and Luca were talking about Roger, actually, because he got published so early in his career. The reason he got published so young is because he was just an incredible writer. I read Ghostman. There was a huge hubbub about Ghostman. It sold at fabulous auctions all around the world. His agent was Nat Sobel, from Sobel Weber, who's one of those legendary American agents. And he really championed Roger, and lots of people championed Roger. And I remember getting the book and thinking, how good can this be? And I read the opening page, and I was absolutely blown away because he had the most incredible voice. And the novel was amazing. Ghostman's a fantastic heist novel, and Vanishing Games is just superb as well. Vanishing Games actually has one of the best openings of any book that I've read in years. It's just brilliant. It's about a heist at sea. It's great. It's so well done. And Roger was such in episode 2, Stuart was talking about meeting him, and Stuart said this was a man who was operating on a different level. He was just that so much ahead of his own years, and probably way ahead of a lot of people in terms of given his age. I was very, very sad not to be given the honour of meeting Roger, as I really admired him, and he was a real character, you know. And I know lots of people met him and will be very, very sad today. So we're sad too. So folks, our recommendation is this week: go out and honour Roger. Go and buy Ghostman. Go and buy Vanishing Games, and you'll read just an incredible writer, an incredible voice, and you'll love it.
I mean, it's incredible. I was reading the bookseller, and he's just a description of his writing career, which he began at a young age. He completed his first novel aged 13, produced his first play when he was 19, had his first publication in the New York Times at 20, signed a movie deal at 21, graduated after majoring in English at 22, signed a book deal at 23. By 24, he was an international bestseller, and by 25, he had been nominated for nearly every major award in crime fiction. It's a huge loss for the genre.
It really is. It really is. Irreplaceably so. He was just fantastic. I remember when I read Ghostman thinking, this guy has the potential to be one of the true greats of the genre. And I think in many ways he probably is anyway, because those books are that good that they will stand the test of time, and people will go back and will read them, and that voice will live on in this genre.
Well, we'll see you next week. For now, it's goodbye from me, Luca Veste.
And it's goodbye from me, Steve Cavanagh.
See you next week.